Okay, doesn't matter. Let me continue. Get it. I see the chat. Okay, never mind. Good afternoon. This is FIDE Senior Trainer and International Master Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Authority of Gujarat and Gujarat State session to this intermediate training session. In this session, I will cover some instructive pawn endings and examples from World Champions games. Now, King Pawn Endgame and Rook Pawn Endgame are the two most important aspects of endgame, and this comes almost in 60 to 70% endgames. Almost uh, any endgame you find rook endgame, and ultimately you have to be very alert about king pawn endgame. So before going to the examples of world champions, let me go to the absolute some basic instructive endgames. Now look at the position 6 pawn 6, but white has a distinct advantage. White can force a pass pawn on the king side. Black is unable to do so. Black's double pawns on the c5 is a serious drawback. For example, white can start the game with h4 or f4. For example, you can start f4, threatening pawn f5. Maybe now you can play h4. Now, if it takes, that white king will come to. Oh, yes. Who is this, please? अभी में क्लास चल रहा है मेरा क्लास चल रहा है कैन आई कॉल यू बैक आफ्टर 2 hours. So here you can see this position that king will come to h3 and pick up. Then it is very easy win. Or alternately, you can take f pawn also. It doesn't matter. King f2, king f3 will pick up, winning quickly. So white can force a pass pawn, whereas black has to just watch. That means you can see creating a pass pawn is very important with a pawn breakthrough. If the pass pawn is already there, it's an advantage. Protected pawn is also a very big advantage. Protected pass pawn. Let's see the next game. Next example. Now in this particular position, it looks very simple. White has an advantage because his king is more active. Black king is far away. However, in such simple positions also, players go wrong and make mistakes. I give time. How should white play? How should white play? It is not so fun. Yeah, I think it is. Finally, I got it. So how do we go about it? For example, the natural and mechanical king e5 will draw the king. After king e5, it's a mistake. The correct move is king d4. Now the correct move. This is a serious error. For example, if you go to king e5, you will play king. Now king to f6, you will play king to d4 and then attack the f2. So you have to play. There is nothing. Still king f6 will you will play king to d6 and king to e5. You can't have. So, or king to d4, that's only move and it's a draw. There is no more win. Now you can play pawn to f5 because even if the pawn is lost, black will maintain opposition. You can just maintain, not come to under king f7, and after this, so king e5 is an error, and that will help. The correct move to win is king d4. King d4. The small mistakes can change the result of the game. Now king to d5. There are two plans. Black can try to approach the pawn, but it is too slow. Because if you try to approach, he will play pawn to f4, f5, f6. Too slow. So king to b5. Now king to d5. King to b6. King to d6. And it is winning. Next f4, f5. And it is over. So the whole point is, even in a simple position, one careless move, a technical error like king e5 would have drawn the king in the beginning. It is important. Next, this is a position between two grandmasters. White is Bojovic and black is Walter Brown. Now, black is having advantage because the pawn is passed pawn and the king is here watching. So, black thought he will push the pawn, but it is a serious mistake and this becomes a draw. Whereas, white can play king to this move, uh, I mean d5 and win to obstruct. Now, king to d5. If you place king, obstruction. The king cannot enter and the pawn is sailing. Too slow. This is too slow. Obstruction. Now, obstruction. Don't allow. Now, white is threatening to come here. Don't allow. And you can queen with check. Queen with check. And winning. And also, alternately, after the move into d5, suppose you start this. Now, race. White is. Now, decoy the king. That pawn is queening in the diagonal. So, decoy the king to this batsman. Force, no choice. Now, even if white queens earlier than black, still white loses. Check. And now, if king goes here, it is a checkmate. And if king goes here, the skewer. The skewer. So, this is important to notice that a careless in the actual game, Walter Brown played this and it became a draw now. Now there is nothing. There is nothing. Draw. So, it is important that we have to feel. We need to, this sort of things should come spontaneously. If we have to calculate, it's not a good idea. That means that you need to have a feeling about absolute basics, fundamentals. That's why let me go to some basic questions, then I will go to the examples of world champions. Okay, this position. The position it is white to play. We flip the board. Alexander Fear is white, and now the point is white king is in a very convenient place, not blocking the pawn. and he is able to go to the queening square, support the queening square quickly. Also, the white king is in a nice place so that even if the pawn reaches e4, still he is in control. Even if he pawn white black pushes two times, still white is in control of the queen. So g4. Now g5. The pawn push fails. The pawn push fails here because I am advancing. Now I am on the sixth rank already, and this I will have enter. This winning easily. So you cannot g4 only move. Now king. You have to, before black reaches the f8 point, you must be on h7. Now if he comes, already there, sailing smoothly. So you have to see in king pawn endgame three themes you have to observe. Number one is position. Number two is obstruction. Number three is triangulation. Triangulation means pass the move to the opponent so that he will win his on. When white has the move, he need to sometimes triangulate and the same position black to. That is called triangulation. I gave the example of Lubujovic and Brown, obstruction and opposition also. Okay. So opposition, obstruction, triangulation. And you need to see the placement of king. Whether your king is placed in the opponent's queening diagonal or file, whether he will queen, then your king will lose the queen because of a skewer. So these are the features. Let's see now another question. Passive position and king. This position I believe is very instructive. Now white seems to be in a very bad way because white king is far away and black king in the center. It looks like that black is completely winning because he can easily access and win the pawns of white and win the game. But not really so. For example, if white plays passively, he will lose the game. Now g4 makes pointless. He cannot make any progress. So the approach is very interesting that black wants to come to attack the pawns. Attack the pawns. So white should approach. White should go and white should approach the pawns. And by that time you capture, white is already at e6. When black captures in 4 moves the pawn, white is already there. It will be a draw. The king to f5 and king to g6 will draw the game. So it is important that you need to play actively. You need to attack the black pawns. You need to counter attack from the rear. So king b3. Now if you play king to e4, I already demonstrated. Already demonstrated. Already demonstrated. It's a draw. Next move on to g5. And it's a king pawn ending draw. So the king cannot go after the white pawns, so he will try to obstruct that. Now pawn f5. Now you need to attack the pawns on rear. Putting pawn g3 is futile. This will be elementary error. In end game, one tempo will decide. So element of time is the most important thing. And that too in king pawn ending. King. It is like this. You go 1 2 3. You will go 1 2 3. And the pawn is anywhere. So he stops. Will anyway we have to find the inroad anyway. Anyway, this makes pointless now. This makes pointless because king b7 and after king to d7 I will have g3. He has to allow me either to c8 or c6. So he comes now king. He is trying to restrict king, and it's a draw. Because now I'm approaching c8, f8, and take the pawn one for one. So it is important thing that you need to be active. A passive approach like king b2 will lose the game quickly. It is very natural move to come to support, but kb2 will lose the game. I'm able to see the chart. Just a minute, please. Now go to the next example. Taimano again. Taimano versus Pesca. Two pawn each. This is a very easy draw. Even black can play f5 also. Even black can play g3. Black can play g3, king g4, king f2, king s3, pawn to draw. He can play this also. f5, f3. And this is also draw. And he can play direct f5 also draw. Now, white played. Okay, this is still he has not lost. I mean, still having drawing chances. Now it is a critical. It is very important that black must find the correct move now. How should black play now? Why am I unable to see the chart here? Okay. Now the correct move is to play f6 because black has played little carelessly. Still he has a draw after f6. No, 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 no. What is f5? I'm sorry, f5, f5 or king g3. This is bad move. You should play here f5. His correct move is to play either f5. It's a draw. King into pawn. It's a draw because after the move opposition. But he played f6 and lost it. The point is after f6 king, and now on push. He is queening faster. White is queening faster. Lost. And he could not go to h5. And also, suppose after the move, he takes a pawn. Suppose instead of playing king d3 f5, that also loses. On push and still he is in lost position. One careless move, everything is over. Now let me go to the next example. It is black to play. Black to play. Let me flip the board. White pawns are coming in this direction. So how should black play? There is a theme here. So I have selected carefully certain examples which carrying a theme. What is the specialty of this diagram? That black can draw the king because white is queening faster anyway. How can black draw the king and why it is a draw? That because mobile is not loading. Problem. Okay, now let me handle that. Take it to those position. Why it is a draw? Because even though white queen will come faster, black pawn on h5 is watching controlling the square. That is why it is a draw. That is the reason it's a draw. For example, the h4 will lose the game. You lose control of the square. Now this is lost. After h4, you will play pawn push and it is lost. The knight pawn wins. The knight pawn is winning. But here on d6, g6. Now white has nothing other than pushing the pawn. Take. It's a draw. If the pawn is on h4 or h6, it is lost for black. It is lost. But because the pawn is watching the key square and white cannot make much progress, that is the theme that black is able to draw this position. The pawn is on h6 or h3 or h4, anywhere else other than this. It is lost. So how it prove now, for example, attack. Check. Now again attack. Now he is unable to get the check. Now if queen g5 check, king h2. Queen takes pawn is a draw. But supposing the pawn was on h4 or h6, queen g4 check, then queen f3, queen g3 will win it. Imagine the pawn is elsewhere, queen g4 check, king s2, queen f3, king d1, queen 2, g3 check, and you pick up the pawn or make progress. So he is unable to get this control. So queen cannot come there. It's a draw. No queen g4 check. It's a typical thing. Please keep in mind king pawn ending normally related to queen pawn ending also. Or queen pawn ending is also connected to sometimes king pawn ending also. So this the theme is now in the bishop pawn, the rook pawn is another rook pawn controlling the key square g4. Queen cannot make any progress. And if the pawn was somewhere on s6 or h4, then white would have won comfortably. Okay, next. Now the position is white to play. I give you 2-3 minutes. Please think what should white do? White is having in clear advantage. He has two advanced connected pass pawns and his king in center. What should be the plan? What is the winning plan for white? I told you three things in king pawn endgame: opposition, obstruction, and triangulation. Here, the position, now you give pawn check, you will play king g7. Then, thereafter, it should be black to play zugzwang. After check king g7, white has no good move. That is why you need to waste a move. You need to pass the move to the opponent. That is triangulation. For example, check king g7. White has no good square. He can't go to king e5. And he cannot capture the pawn as well. That means you wait with king e3. And that is the winning. So he will come king, up pawn push. He has nothing better than king to g7. Now king will get the position but black is zigzag because after black moves, the white enters. Red threat. For example, maybe I can capture the. No, I have to think. No, it is black to play now. Black to play. You must come. You must come here. King takes on push. King here push. King here wins. Or he can come king, but you are having a tenth. In this 1 second. Samjhanji. So here the tempo. The point is here that you come here now. He has to move. Now if you come here, you will lose the pawn, and you push the pawn king, and now you come here. This is finished. Let us see. Let us see. Instead of pushing, let us give the check. Queen check. And now black, white cannot move the king. White cannot go because by the time a pawn queens, you need three moves, and he is faster. That is why you need to triangulate the position by king e3 and wins. This wins. Okay. All right. Next. Again, this is a tricky position. White to play. Very important. A careless move, white will lose the game. How should white play? I am giving you 3 minutes time. Please think. I will be back. I hope you have found. Now, a common error. For example, many youngsters will go quickly to this bad square. That is losing. The correct move is king to e7. It is very important. Mechanically, because they will think that white is coming, taking white is coming quicker. You want to catch the pawn. You want to catch the pawn. So a quick king e6 is a serious error. And after this pawn puts and winning, because now this is a winning pawn. The king is coming faster. Lost. So the correct move is king to e7. And this is saving the game. Amazing. Now same thing does not work. Now if you do same thing, it doesn't work. Now suppose you play f4, pawn f4, it doesn't work. Before you could catch, now in two moves you are going to take the pawn. In two moves you will come. Or you make a pawn move. If you make pawn move, you will come pawn king here and king. So this is pawn push does not help. And if you play after king e7, he can play king to e5. That also draws. Just in time, king to captures and opposition. No more win. The black king will unable to come out. Draw. Pawn push or pawn push. Just wait. Stalemate. This is draw. So the whole point is mechanical king e6 would have lost the game, whereas king e7 saving the game. Okay, let me take you. I am unable to see the chart. I will solve the problem because without chart I cannot interact. Something wrong with my mobile today. Unable to do the setting. Okay. So here, next position. This is a position. White has a choice to play king to g5 or king f5. Correct move is king. This is wrong. Now after king f5, it appears there is black has counterplay. For example, king f5, king f5. Now pawn push. Not this move because ultimately we will have related square. The theme will go to related square, and then we win the game. We penetrate to g6 slowly. We will come here, then we will come. We will come. Now we'll just. This is related. This is related, and this is related. So I will just wait using zugzwang because when he comes here, I will enter, and when he goes here, I will go to the related square zugzwang. Now suppose he comes, now it winning king entry, and suppose he goes, I will go to the related square. He's in zugzwang. Now he can't play this king. He cannot play this also. Wins. So related. That is why the player should not play h6 here, but then king. Now king. This is also winning. So king into f5 was the correct move, was winning, but Grandmaster Azmai Parazvili, who is a very strong player, of course at that time he was not 2700, but after the careless king g5, no more a win. It is no more a win. He can't push the pawn. He lose the pawn. He is unable to go. Not this bad move. Not this bad move. Allowing it draw. Okay. So here this is draw f4. Or alternately he can also king f7 draw. Alternately king f6 is bad move. You should play king g6. King f6, king e8. We will get into the same position analyzed in the previous variation. Same position. And white's f1 is faster than s1. So careless king g5 ended up in a draw, whereas king into f5 was winning. This is also thematic and also instructive. For example, black to play, suppose he goes after the pawn, white can also go here, and it's no more than a draw. So take time and now you think and let me know. There, no, please think now. I cannot interact now. Please think and tell me. I mean, sorry, think how should black chat is not coming. So the winning plan is pawn push. He is left with no choice. But after the pawn into pawn, if he comes here, I will take and then winning easily. The only move. But then now black will win this pawn easily, and he has time to go for the winning. Suppose you will try to enter now. You can take. This is faster. Or he comes here, king into pawn. Now king here just comes. So this is excellent move. E3. All right. This position is white to play. How should white play here? The point is black is capturing the pawn in 3 1 2 3, or he can go 1 2 3. So white is at a crossroad. Now if he goes to d6, then king to e4 or king e3, winning the pawn quickly. G pawn and queen. He can't go to d6. He cannot go to f6 as well, because then king c3 wins. That means the king has to make a correct move now. That means d6 loses, f6 loses. So the correct square is e7, where you are watching in three moves this pawn and three moves also. So this is the correct way. The king is in a perfect place from here to watch both the pawns. These three moves is coming and three moves is coming here also. So if you come now king, suppose you go 1 2 3, 1 2 3, he is in a position to go 1 2 and 3. Or if you go 1 2 3, he is in a position to go 1 2 3. So the correct perfect square is king is son waiting, watching both the pawns and keeping the pace balance. This looks simple but not so easy. It is black to play and draw the king. Amazingly, the correct move is to play h4. Now, backward pawn and is unable to make progress. And after he takes the pawn, the king comes. Other moves will lose. You play king e6 is losing. There is other alternative. Is reasonable is king e6. King e6 loses the king. After king e6, pawn push and it is rook one. And eventually he will lose the h pawn and the game. So the correct move was h4. H4. Draw. Now if king takes pawn, king f4 draw. Whatever he plays, it is a draw. Now after king g4, he will wait. Draw. And if he plays f4 check also draw. This is draw. Forced. Now pawn to f. So this is a diversion. If you take king into f6, you will play king into h4 or king coming to h5 blocking the pawn. So this is a draw. So h4 saves that and king takes pawn. It is a very easy draw. It is easy. Okay. So I leave this. Next example like this is a more harder one. The correct assessment of the position. What do you think? Now white to play. What is the evaluation? Is it a draw or is it white winning? Please think for some time. 2 minutes. Normally, in a pawn ending, 2 to 3 minutes, you should be quickly able to evaluate so that you are having a good feeling about the end pawn ending. So, what is your evaluation here? White to play. Is it white winning or is it a draw? Okay. Correct evaluation is a draw. Now, king b3. There is nothing better. King b3. Now, king. This is the critical moment. This is the critical moment. Now, if black plays f3 or e3, he is losing the game. The correct move is to play king to a4 because white king cannot go to c4. So correct move is king f4 and draw. He played in the game e3. It's lost. Now amazing king d3 wins because by giving the b pawn, he will wipe out both the pawns of black. King e3, king e4, king f5 winning. But at this juncture, instead of playing king f4 would have drawn. There is nothing better. So you have to come, but then pawn push, and now forced to come and draw. It's a draw. Now king takes pawn, king d4 zugzwang, and if you play here, king not going bad, king d4. See, there's a typical error. If opponent is not taking your pawn, you should think why. After this, it is a draw. White has no good move. So white cleverly waits. Now you should not also go to the d square. So you wait. Only after it takes, you should go to d4. Draw. So in this position, king a4 was a draw. This is bad move and lost. These are typical, very small errors, but significant decisions, significant themes. pretty easy. Please evaluate white to play. Okay, all right. Now the correct move is not to pawn e6 but g3. Choose one. Now black is in choose one. The pawns are paralyzed and on king move it is pawn breakthrough wins. Now if he pushes the pawn, check and he will win easily. Or g4, then king takes pawn will win easily. Okay. So it is important that you have to paralyze the pawns. Now if you place king f8, then the white king will penetrate. Now white will penetrate. So this is important. G3 wins the game. After G3, king D8, and if you play king F8, K D7, and this is winning. Okay, the next one. White is having an upper hand, but the win is far from easy. How should White play here? Three pawn each, but White king is in a more aggressive play position. Black king is in a passive position. So White's another advantage is he is having a tempi in reserve. The reserve move is called tempi. So H pawn is having a reserve. So H3, pawn H3 wins. Now the king will penetrate either this direction or this because king has to move. Now king penetrates. Forced, forced, and now win. The point is both will win simultaneously, but white will have the move and it is a tactical win. So that's seventh rank, queen, queen. But white has the so he will black will lose the queen by skewer. Queen g4 check. Unfortunately, he has only one bad square, and then resulting king pawn endgame is winning. Winning. So many times it happens that we queen simultaneously, but you have to see the placement of king and who has the move. Your evaluation in this position, white to play. How do you evaluate this position? Excuse me. This is very strange position. The point is, black has an outside pass pawn, but the white king is very much in control of the queening area. The correct play, the evaluation is a draw, but black made mistakes. That is what my point. That in this typical situation, how to handle a position. First move is white to play obvious move h5. Otherwise, there is no chance. F h5 is the correct. Now he plays bad. He could have played here pawn f6 and the game could continue. King. Now g5 is not good. G5 he can take. I'm able to see. I'm able to load and see the chart now. Yeah. All right. Finally, I managed. Okay. Now I'm able to see the chart. Thank you very much. I'm able to see the chart. Thanks. All right. Now it is amazing this position that so here e3. Here it is g5 also draw. You will take and king to e5 and draw. And if you play here king e3, just pawn to divert. They will diversion and draw. Now g5 pawn into pawn and king f5. G5 pawn into pawn king f5. But not direct king f5. Direct king f5 lose the game because g6 zugzwa. Now now direct king f5 is a blunder. You have to take the pawn and play king f5. So these are simple technical errors. Okay. Finally, I am able to see the chart. Now this is again an instructive position, a theme. White is Grandmaster Yuri Avarbak, a great endgame expert. He has written a series of books on endgame. So king to b7. The point is now the black will come to take the g3 pawn and white will take the f6 pawn and it will be white 2. So king b7. Now king d8 will lose. Then white will penetrate king c6. So only now the point is he will anyway come. You can come either this also, it makes no difference. King, king. Now, if you take the pawn, it will be draw. King into f5. But he makes a clever move. This is also important thing. Now king into b3 is forced. Now, if white takes the h pawn, black will take that pawn. Or white takes the f pawn, black will take that pawn. So white waits cleverly. King g. Black is in zugzwang. If he goes to the h file, he will take the h pawn. And if black goes to f file, he will take the f pawn. So a lot of patience is required. You need lot of patience. You need lot of patience. King takes pawn. The clever move is king g. Now let me see. How about this position? Again tricky. Again very tricky. What is your evaluation if black to play? I can see the chart now. Please let me know your evaluation black to play. How many of you think the game is equal? How many of you think white can win or draw? Please let me know your evaluation. If the position is black to play, what do you think? What is your evaluation? Not sure. So Subankar says it is a win. B5 is the correct move, Subankar, but it is not a win. B5 is the correct move, but it is not a win because now here he has got the correct move is to play king to g5. Why? Because you are doing two things at the same time. The king g5, one idea is to support your own pawn. To one idea, you are supporting your own pawn to advance. The king will come. Second idea, your king is in the right place to watch. Right place to watch up because black is coming quickly. He is coming quickly. So king bg3 is a idea you can stop the pawn, but you can't help your own pawn. This pawn must go. King g5, this is losing. This is losing because you can only stop the pawn. So the correct move is king g5. Ramakrishna, it's a draw, but one has to find the move. b5 is not winning. King g5. Pawn push. Why this move? It is important. You don't go to the bad square. The queen will come. The queen will come. Don't go to the bad square. Queen in diagonal. Endgame finesse. You have to go to the square like this way and then go this. This is important. If king is 7, I will go king to g7. But if you play king g6, he need not do. He can rush with the pawns. He can hurry up. So king to h6 on push. Now king. Now king. Because there is a tempo. Now you are in the queening diagonal, but you have a tempo. Tempo. This is queen. It should be draw, but actually extra pawn for black. It should be a draw. So here he made the bad bad move. Now bad move. This is bad. He could have won the game with simple pawn push. And now the king is confined to the area. You have to stay in the area only. And by that time, the black king will come and double the pawn. Typical errors players play. Here, b5 is good move, Subankar. But after king g5, it is a draw. And pawn push. Now king to h6 draw. Okay, all right. Go to the next one. I think I am finishing the examples, whatever I selected. Once again, a very interesting and thematic endgame. The position, it is white to play. White to play. How should white play here? White move is obvious. So I should make the white move. Now I will make. So white move is obvious because any other move you play some g4, g5 wins. G4, g5 wins. And g3 is also bad. Okay, so this is the correct move. And now evaluate the position. The correct evaluation of the position. Take time. No rush. I give you 2 minutes. Ramakrishna says white is winning. Do you agree with Rama? Because Ramakrishna's idea, he white has outside pass pawn and black king is in a bad set. The correct play is draw. Rath says f6. The correct play is draw. So f5 loses to g3. Black is in zugzwang. No king move, no pawn move. So the correct move is here f6. The correct move. King d3. Here king d3 and winning. King d3. Still it is not easy that he has to play king d5. And now the position is the draw is achieved by king d3. Here it was a draw. Here the correct play here h4 f6. Here this is g3. This is also not correct because here this is again a draw. This is a draw. Rook pawn and draw. So after the move h4 f6 is the correct move. Now g4. King d3 is the move. Not h5. Many players will play here mechanical h5. Okay, this is not completely draw, but the queen ending is coming now. Queen ending is coming. Not so easy. Though this knight pawn is an advantage, it's not that easy. That is the correct move, king d3, and now it should win the diversion. Now if king here, the h5 wins, or if you give a check, there is no issue. King a2 controlling both the moves. The king is cannot control both. And mechanically h5, this will be more difficult. Queen ending will come. Now I will go to the example of world champions. Example of from world champions games. Okay. For academic interest, I will show the full game. Now the Maruji bind is less effective. Here you can play knight into knight also and g6, bg7, castle offer equal chances. This is also good move. Now bg5, bg7, nc3, castle, queen d2. It should be approximately equal after nd7. But this the bind you have to break the bind either at d5 break, d5 break. Even there sometime Zuzа Pulgar went one game king to h8 and rook g8 and c5 g4. You must break the bind. Otherwise, black will end up in a very passive position. So, he right moment to break the bind. Okay, it's a waste of time. After the move be2, it is not easy. Not easy. But this is waste of time. Now, amazing NB4. The point is, an end game is coming where the king is in center and black gets countered. Amazing. Young Fisher found that went into ND5, but he has a check. The only move takes. Now there is no time to take the bishop. Bishop g2, black will be better off. Maybe bishop g2 and then take the pawn. So he has to take the bishop on f1. Rather forced. Now creating a weakness. Rather. Once again, bishop into b4 threat force. Now, the simple job, he wants to bring king to e6 and thereafter exchange is clearly material up. Objectively, white is not so much behind bishop and pawn for the rook and active position. So it will able to hold the balance. But thematic pawn ending comes. Typical error. Now, instead of rook e1, he could have played any other move. Even a move like pawn to f4 is okay. But this is a terrible move. Now suddenly the game fizzles to a pawn ending winning for black. Rook into bishop. Now black can create an outside pass. Black can create outside pass. Whereas white king is stuck passively. Outside pass. Even though the material is equal, outside pass pawn decides the game. This outside pass pawn, I will give two more examples. The second example is Fischer Larsen from the candidates final. Here, rook a6. The dull threat. Threat number one, direct rook takes g6 check. And threat number two, spinning. This is one threat, and this is second threat, spinning the bishop. So he is more or less obliged to play bishop. Now rook into pawn is not good idea. Rook into pawn will king will attack, then you will exchange. So good move, very accurately played by Bobby. Now king only move rook to d4. Now he must return the exchange. Rook takes pawn. Now winning a king pawn ending outside pass pawn. The material is equal, but white king is in better centralized position and outside pass. So force a bishop and pawn ending. I mean king pawn ending. Then otherwise the pawn goes to sixth rank quickly. Now the black king will occupy to watch the pawn, whereas white king will sweep all this. Reflect the black king and going enter and win. So outside pass pawn is a big advantage. Please keep this in mind. One more outside pass pawn is there. I will show you. Let me take you to Saravan Kasparov. Go to position directly. Something like here. The position it is equal. 5 pawns each. Rook knight, rook bishop. Now you could have simply played knight to d3. Game is equal. After knight d3, there is no win. But a typical and careless error, he played pawn to e3. Okay, still he is not lost, but this is the beginning of a wrong play. Bad. After nd3, I don't see an easy way that black can make any progress. There is nothing. So bad move. Center. Now the bishop is dominating the knight. So virtually it is a king pawn endgame is on the way. So there is nothing better. You will run out of pawn moves. You will run out of pawn moves. You cannot play king to c5 because he will just enter with the king. Or if you play any other move, king d6. So, king pawn ending. It is difficult to believe because white king is still active. That white will lose the game. Now, wait. Okay. How to win this position? Now, white has played because pawn and pawn is the easy win for black. So he blocked. The king is watching the pawn. The king is watching the pawn. So what is the winning plan for black? What is the winning plan? Black to play and win. Okay. No, no, no. The point is we need a triangulation. The position is black to play. We should get the same position with white to play. F6 and here F5. Now we need a triangulation. Yes, Subankar, you are right. F6, F5. But then the position is black to play. We should get the same position white to play. Then only you can win. Now white to play, white is in zugzwang. Because if white moves the king, then he will push and king will penetrate. King will penetrate. And if he will do any other move, then king c4 wins. King d4 wins. So black has to make a triangulation. Please note this diagram. We are going to reach the same diagram with white to play. King, king. You cannot go. You have to watch the pawn. You can't go further. You have to return. Okay? You have to return. What happened? King, king. You can't go kd4. Kd6 wins. Only move. We reach the same diagram. This time it is white to play. White is in zugzwang. Now, suppose white moves here on push. You need to hurry up. Then king enters. Idea, the break is not working because the pawn is queening with check. After the pawn push king, and now if you take pawn push wins because queening with check. So triangulation and also you have to watch queening with check. Yeah, what is this? Ranjit Rajput b3. No, no. You have to make f6 f5. The diagram is winning after f6 f5. It is triangulation. King c7. Now king d7. You can't play kd4, kd6. Great maneuvering and a fantastic instructive game by Gary Bhai Kasparov. I will go to the go to work variation. It is already refuted line. Go to work variation is not good, and I will not discuss that openly. For example, what is go to work variation is this: g4 b5. Bishop takes, knight takes. Now f5, check. This is the main theory. Now e5, you have end e5. Now pawn here, then queen check, and white has initiative. And and if you go here, for example, anyway, other moves, and d5 also is coming. So here, this is the theory. But what happens is when you take it, this pawn into this is called bootwork, which is a bad line. Now bg2, you can simply play here. Castling king side is bad. You castle king side, there is a lot of repetition. So here, I will take you to a direct theory, that typical endgame where it comes. This is the if you play h5, it's a draw. If you play h5, it's a draw. Now I will take the no more win. But Grigori found the correct plan here, not the queen h1. Now the king has to come. By that time your king comes, white will have 3-2 majority. 3-2 majority, one pass. Outside pass. And c4. If you take a4 b5, otherwise protected pass pawn and wins. So the correct thematic move queen h4, queen h1. Very instructively played. Ligoric is a world-class player, was fantastic grandmaster. One more game. Fischer Larsen I showed you. Karasalik. I go straight away to the point. Normally, the queen ending, the knight pass pawn is dangerous. If it is a rook pass pawn, the queen ending it is very difficult for the extra pawn side. But here, the knight pass pawn is very dangerous. Push, check. Now, if you give another check, queen g6 coming, queen f4 coming. He is running out of checks. This is a critical moment. This is a critical moment. The calculation of Keres that he can create a pass pawn. After queen exchange is bad, with the d pawn under attack. King e4. Now the calculation of white is black king is tied down because of the pass pawn. However, this position looks like a draw because the king cannot come further, the pawn. But now Alekhine played the correct move, king. Rather forced, there is no choice. Again forced. Now he gains a tempo, a decisive tempo. You cannot take the pawn. It is queening with check. And now, if you go king, no, if you go king to g1, now queen. If you go to king g1, also mate. On e2, e1 checkmate. So only move. The queen ending is lost. The black king will get shelter at f1. No more check. Queen s3 losing to queen d2 check, and other moves are just not good. So here, this point is thematic. The knight pass one. No, I will go to the point. This one. There is nothing he can do. On king to e2, then queen b2 check and winning easily. Nothing much. Okay, you can repeat. You can repeat, but in that case, you can play queen, almost reaching the same end. Okay, maybe this next game I take. My slow caress. It will take you to the direct to the position academically. Position which I want to play. Now the queen is stronger than the uncoordinated rook and knight. The resource is that the knight cannot be captured because of the rook check. But resulting king pawn endgame is winning. That is the point of the diagram. That the knight is indirectly protected, but resulting king pawn endgame is winning. Now, even if it is white to play, white wins. Black to play, black wins. So it is that you have to always look for liquidating to a winning king pawn endgame. The tall caress, the candidates 1959. Let's try to go further. White to play, white played. Now it is white played queen e5. Now it is black to play and win. We go to the typical crunch queen. Also black play now. Black to play and win the game. Obviously, our theme is to reach a winning king pawn endgame. How do we do that? How to force a winning king pawn endgame? Okay. Now he forces the ending with knight attacks. Only move queen to then queen g4 wins. The simple threat of knight g3, there is no answer. Now he cannot play king to d7. King d7 loses a knight fall. The queen is unprotected now. Now the queen is unprotected. And there is a simple threat. And king here will lose because knight fall. And queen here, I will simply knight g3. There is nothing. Forcing a now there is whatever you do, simple move. Knight on knight, I will take queen into queen and king pawn into and winning. Forcing a winning king pawn into. Okay, we'll go to the another 30th. It's a Zugzwang. Now it is a Zugzwang. He cannot move. If you move rook h2, 7 pawns should win the game. Only move. And now rook takes pawn. Now Tal wins the game in an amazing style, even in end game. He plays very actively, combinative style. First you have to stop the pawn rook a2. Now what an amazing Pawn takes pawn is more difficult, very difficult, because black king becomes active and he will end up in a more or less drawish position. So fantastic, amazing giving a pawn. You cannot go down using quickly. Only now the simple threat is pawn to b5 and next pawn into pawn and then winning the game with the pawn to c6. So he stops that. Idea b5 rook into pawn. But now Tal is forcing a winning king pawn end. Anyway, anyway, now rook takes. If he gives checks, no. If he gives check on c2 and c1, now rook c2 check. The king will slip like this, and he will attack. So I am not going to the third rank. So the only move. Now pawn into pawn, only move. Bishop into pawn, only move. There is no other move. This is a critical moment. I'm sure Tal had seen almost up to this diagram, and now not mechanically bishop into or rook into, but gaining a decisive tempo. Now just king g3, simplifying into a winning king pawn end. King to g3. Next he will run out, only move. They exchange everything and king g4 wins. Opposition. So what I meant to say, it is many times a player fails to see using a winning king pawn ending. I believe this is a very instructive end game, and mistakes by both the players ended 1959. White is winning. White position is winning because black has king is cut off and black has more weaknesses. White king is active. It should win slowly. Very well played. Going for a mating attack. Simply bf5 and king to f6 and finishing. He has to take the pawn. Bad move. Here Fisher missed the simple e2 was drawing. Now defense is there. There is no mate. But instead of that, young Bobby played this mistake. It should draw. The correct play should draw. Black is hurrying up. He has to hurry up to the queen side. Now, rook h5 was the best defense. Probably it is a draw only, not more than a no more than a draw. But instead of this, he went bad. Now it is winning. I hope many of you must have seen that about maybe 6 months back, White Carlson and Black was with it. A similar situation, almost a similar situation. And Carlson missed the win. So also, Gligoric missed the win here. Can somebody tell me what is the winning plan for White? What is the winning plan for white? Black has just made a mistake. Black should have played rook h5. But black made a mistake. And what is the winning plan? That says rook c5. Do you agree? Rook, uh, Subankar says rook b5. No, no. The correct move is check. That is what Magnus did. You know, it was on the e5. You know, Magnus missed a central check. Similar situation. Here the rook check wins. Now the rook check is winning. Now rook check. Let us see king d8. Let us see king d8. Now only this. Now only this. And now winning. It is a book win. This is a book win. And now let us say check. Let's say check. No, check. Let's say king d6. This also wins. And the pawn will make progress. Next move b5. Rook check does not help. Winning theoretical winning position. Now if you play rook to, then you will play pawn push and the king enters. Then rook to f7 wins. Rook to g7 or f7 will win the game. But instead of giving the check, now instead of giving the check, Grigori played the mechanical king into pawn, and it is a draw. He will force the king pawn and rook check, check. Now challenge. Your king need to cross over. This need to cross over to this area. Challenge. If you don't exchange the rook, the king will cross over, and exchanging the rook, a drawn pawn into king. But now the correct move, not this bad squares. King. So that meet c5 with c7 or b5 with b7. Draw. Opposition. So it was instructive that mistakes by both sides. Rook h5 should be draw, but he played this bad move, hoping king into pawn, but rook check and would have won the game. I think if you observe, so similar, if you check Carlson Vidit Gujarati, the same thing happened. Carlson did not give the check and ended up in a draw. The pawns on center fine. Next. This is from Capablanca's chess fundamentals. The position, black has queen side majority and white has king side majority. But if white to play, white will win the game because he will play b4 and it is a bad majority. White to play, he can just paralyze b4. It's a bad majority. Suppose the pawn is on b7, still it's a draw. Or pawn on b6, still it is a draw. But now the pawns are paralyzed. And this winning position, despite the material equality, because white can create an outside pass pawn, divert the black. So it is very important that a player should not end up to losing in such situation. A bad pawn measure. Now king. There is no time to take. There is no time. He'll queen faster. Now you have to queen wherever the king. So you have to queen in this diagonal. One tempo. H6 and wins. So this is very instructive that he should not get into a fixed like this and a bad pawn measure. That is why in his book Capablanca said that pawns must be abreast, mobile. It is not a game, it is annotation by Capablanca. D4 is winning the game for white, despite material equal. Magnus Carlsen versus Levin Aronian. I will take it to the very end because now I'll tell you that this is a queen ending. We are going to reach a pawn end. The B passer is dangerous when there is queen ending. B pass pawn is really very because the mobility for the defending side becomes less. So check and now B4, G4, king. Now here's check. But then this. The whole point is another check will lead to force king winning king pawn. Now if you play queen B3 check, B6 check, queen F6 wins. And now queen exchange, the pawn ending is lost. Now queen exchange is forced. This is lost anyway. The queen check and finish exchange. And now queen into queen is just lost. This is completely winning. Okay. Now if you comes here, you will play like this. Not the F7 move and king here. And if he comes to other side, then pawn goes and we make winning. So this is knight pawn but forcing the winning king pawn end. I'll show one more Carlson game with one hair of one. How of that. Now normally it should be end up in a draw, but you walk it into a lost position. You did not exchange the queen. It is difficult. Though white is having upper hand. Now need not exchange the queen. He can play king to e6. He can play king e6 also, or he can move the queen. But try to exchange in queen. Now there is this is the king is running to a5. It is you can call the game uh, Pawn versus Rubinstein. I mean the break on g4 will b4 b5 will lost. So now any king move, king to g3, king to b6 and c6 lost. So actually he did not enter the pawn ending, but the queen ending would have been more difficult for white. But entering a pawn ending was wrong decision at this point. Okay. I will show to one more game, Anand versus Karwana. Check. Black has the upper hand now because black has the better bishop and more coordinated pieces, and the king will enter more active. Now, advantage number one: the superior bishop compared to the inferior mobility. Superior king compared to less active king. So black has an upper hand. Well, this is a rapid game, so there is nothing he can do about it. Now exchange the knight. it is difficult, time taboo, and with the easy king pawn ending. Now, if bishop moves, simply h3, h2, unstoppable, and bishop exchange leads to a lost pawn ending. Two pass pawns lost. So even in little material, this theme helps. Hello, everybody. All right. Now, I would like to show you my next session. I will cover pawn cover of the king, different pawn structures. Of course, there are a lot of more pawn endings I will also discuss, which is more thematic. And I will next session I will cover discuss pawn cover of the king. How castle position, pawn weakness. Just a minute, please. Just a minute. Hello. Yes. So pawn cover of the king, I will discuss that how a pawn weakness of the castle position dominates. The player's thinking process in the middle game. Thank you very much, friends. I'll see you tomorrow at same time 3 o'clock for the next session. Take care, everybody, and bye. I could not see the start today, so I could not interact much. There was a problem with my mobile, so finally I was able to load, but it was already late at that time. Never mind. So my next topic is pawn cover of the